Starting out. Wendy is 35 weeks pregnant and keeping herself fit and healthy.
So we're breathing in.
The impact of fetal health on growth, development and ageing, brain development and diseases at both ends of the lifespan is the focus of research at the Liggins Institute. It was founded in 2002 by Peter Gluckman.
I personally believe that preventative medicine starts with conception. If we want to do the best for the next generation, be it in terms of brain development, be it in terms of not getting obese, not getting heart disease, not getting diabetes, while the effects may sound subtle, they're not. The healthy start to life based on a well-nourished woman conceiving to a husband or a partner who's not taking drugs or alcohol or smoking and breastfeeds that baby after birth. She's doing the most important task she can do in terms of that child's ultimate life. The basic biology says that that when you're just a one cell, then subtle changes in the environment can have enormous influences for all the daughter cells that will go on to making that human being.
Fetal and maternal health also affects the birth experience.
What we do know is that women who are in a lower nutritional state at the time they conceive are more likely to give birth to premature babies, are more likely to give birth to growth retarded babies. And so to be dieting at the time you conceive, to have an unbalanced diet at the time you conceive, to be deficient in key vitamins like folate, iron and zinc and iodine at the time you conceive is potentially bad for the baby.
Along with a balanced diet, moderate exercise is recommended for pregnant women. Spark put out a brochure with guidelines for being active during pregnancy. Paul Hoffman is leading an exercise intervention study at the Liggins Institute. 100 women are using an exercycle for 40 minutes a day, 5 days a week, in the second half of their pregnancy. They and their babies will be followed through until the child is 5 years old. Over the last 30 to 40 years, life in New Zealand has become more sedentary.
At the same time, there has been a range of increasing complications during pregnancy. The number of caesarean sections, for instance, has increased from around 5% in 1980 to over 30%, and this is in healthy first pregnancy mothers.
There's been a similar but less impressive increase in the number of operative vaginal deliveries, such as forceps or ventouse. As well as this, obesity rates around the world have climbed dramatically.
We've ascribed this to environmental changes postnatally in what we're eating and how much exercise we do. There is, however, a very good argument that it may be programmed into us by what happens before we're born, and that involves both nutrition and possibly exercise.
3! Lovely!
A baby who's oversupplied with food during pregnancy is programmed to store food more effectively and therefore is more likely to become overweight or obese during childhood. Exercise reduces the amount of food that's supplied to the baby through the placenta.
Therefore, the baby will grow at a slightly less rate than it would otherwise would. And we would argue at a more normal rate. We would argue that the normal human state is to be exercising at a mild to moderate degree daily.
Sitting up nice and straight, lift your foot up.
One could argue that 40 minutes of exercising a day is still not a lot compared to what women used to do when they used to do all the housework, when they used to walk to get all the groceries, when we didn't have the cars, we didn't have the automation that we have now. Hi, Susie.
Susie is 36 weeks pregnant and enjoying being involved in the study.
I often come home from work and I've got no energy and are tired, but then you get on the bike for 40 minutes and then it gives you a whole lease of energy again. So it's been very good.
Findings of the study are still preliminary, but there's been a 50% reduction in caesarean sections and significantly less operative vaginal deliveries.
We have increased reports of well-being during pregnancy. Weight gain has not been changed that much, and weight loss afterwards hasn't been changed that much, but the women are much fitter and much more active and seem to be able to cope more afterwards. And the effects on the babies, there has been a approximately 300 gram loss of birth weight compared to the group that don't exercise, which is about a 10% reduction. And when we've looked at their body composition, this equates to approximately a 15% reduction in body fat, which is quite exciting.
Sophia was born by caesarean section after 38 hours of labour and a diagnosis of failure to progress. Jill meets up with Wendy and Chris to discuss primitive reflexes which help babies survive in the first few months of life. Primitive reflexes emerge, are utilised and then must be integrated before babies can move up the developmental ladder.
Woo.
The Moro reflex, also known as the startle reflex, emerges 9 weeks after conception.
One of its main purposes is to help her to take her first breath. So when she comes out into the world and wow, there's this big world of all the sensory stuff that's going on, she just gets such a fright. And so to help inhibit the reflex, really great activities are, you know, rolling her on a Swiss ball and tipping her gently upside down. Have you done that with her before?
Yeah, we have, yeah.
She's as happy as Sam.
The Babinski or plantar reflex emerges at 11 weeks in utero.
What they do is if you put her on her tummy, she would pull her wee knees up underneath her. You've seen her do that? Yeah. And if you actually put your hands on the bottom of her feet, she would push really strongly. Yeah. What she would have been doing, if you'd gone into that second stage of labour, would be she would have been using your muscle wall to push herself down through the birth canal.
This reflex is important to prepare the feet for crawling, walking and running.
She is falling asleep.
Stroking her feet firmly helps integrate it.
There's also a reflex that we call the ATNR. Now, if she had a normal delivery, when her head came out, she has to turn her shoulder in order to be able to get through that very narrow passage. And the ATNR is that reflex that you see when she's lying on the floor, and her head's turned to the arm that's down, and this little hand's up here like that. And then when she turns her head, she does that. Have you seen that at all?
Yeah, we have, yeah.
Yeah. There's a beautiful position. Look, ATNR. Until they inhibit that reflex, they'll have trouble crawling, because what it means is I can't actually move my head independently from the rest of my body. It's like there's a bit of string going between here and here. Yeah. And you can't, when you crawl, you have to move parts of your body independently. Yeah. So because she didn't use that reflex, doing movements with her when she's on the floor, holding her arm, opposite leg, so that they reach out and touch each other, just doing a few little actions like that and on the other side of the body will actually help her to develop independence of those body parts.
By birth, the brain has developed the total 100 billion brain cells, or neurons, it possesses. After birth, the baby's brain begins to form trillions of connections and pathways between these neurons. Although genes begin the process of brain development, it's the experiences of the baby that now take over this process. The better the quality of experiences the baby has, the more and better the connections.